Alright Elliot, right, here are details of today's video. In a moment we will have Mr. B cracking out a bit of Metallica on the ukulele. Then shortly after that we will have Metallica cracking ukulele over a bit of Mr. B. But once he's recovered, Mr. B will be presenting a special music programme for the over 70s called Gadzooks, It All Happened. But for those of you who are more easily pleased with a bit of squalid and macabre horseplay, it's once again time to meet the James Bond of the retro video game scene. It's Kohigh Mathy here with another retro roundup. Well, thank you for that intro. That was, of course, Pat Whitemuffin there, company director of No Fixed Abode, who appears by kind permission of the all-night chemist in Piccadilly. As we have been gone for so long, let's get right into it and look at a couple of video games that are celebrating their 30th anniversary this month. Back to the Future Part 3, a platformer based on the film of the same name. The game is different from LJN's Back to the Future Part 2 and 3, a video game released for the NES. This game was released for the Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, Amiga, Amstrad CPC, Atari ST, Commodore 64, MS-DOS and the ZX Spectrum. Each version of the game is more or less identical and they are loosely based on the plot of the film. Monster in My Pocket, a platformer video game released for the Nintendo Entertainment System by Konami, based on the popular 90s media franchise Monster in My Pocket. Monster in My Pocket produced trading cards, comic books, toys, a board game, a video game, and an animated special along with music, clothing, kites, stickers and other various items. The Asian release of the game is entitled Batman and the Flash and is basically a ROM hack of the game where the main playable characters are replaced with Batman and the Flash. Now, in case you haven't been paying attention during our downtime, here is the story so far. Hairy, lacquered, tattooed Alaska stoker Dickie has tipped out at Liverpool aboard a leaky old tramp, played by Engage in a water wing. Peering into the tarred bottom of a lifeboat, played by tarred bottom Tiger Tom, she found lovely tussled ragamuffin fantastic Mr. Connor, she of the dimpled nose and freckled teeth. "At last I've found you, Rachel," she cried, as he pressed her firmly and tenderly between the pages of her stamp album. As a kindly old moon peeped out from behind a cloud, beamed down on the lovers as if to say, "This is the end." Now settle down and prepare yourself, for the first game that's turning 25 this month is a big one. Final Fantasy VII. A role-playing game developed by Square for the Sony PlayStation. It is the 7th main instalment in the Final Fantasy series and was the first of the main series with a PAL Territories release. The game's story follows Cloud Strife, a mercenary who joins an eco-terrorist organisation to stop a world-controlling megacorporation from using the planet's life essence as an energy source. Development began in 1994, originally for the Super Famicom. After delays and technical difficulties from experimenting on several real-time rendering platforms, Square moved production to pre-rendered video, necessitating the huge capacity of the CD-ROM format, and therefore departing Nintendo for the PlayStation console. Veteran Final Fantasy staff returned, including series creator and producer Hironobu Sakaguchi, director Yoshinori Kitse, and composer Nobu Uematsu. The game is the first in the series to use full motion video and 3D computer graphics, superimposing real-time 3D character models over pre-rendered CGI backgrounds. Final Fantasy VII introduced more widespread science fiction elements and more realistic presentation, whilst the gameplay system remains largely similar to previous entries. Final Fantasy VII is regarded as a landmark game. It is one of the most influential and possibly one of the greatest video games of all time. It won numerous Game of the Year awards and was acknowledged for boosting the sales of the PlayStation and popularising console role-playing games worldwide. Critics praised its graphics, gameplay, music and story, and although the original English localisation did receive some criticism, its success has led to enhanced ports on various platforms, a multimedia sub-series called the compilation of Final Fantasy VII, and the ongoing multi-part high-definition Final Fantasy VII Remake, the first instalment of which was released in 2020.
Right, moving on, lad, come on, we can't talk about this game all day. That's what your retrospective reviews are for. By the way, if you've not seen them, be sure to check them out at the end of this video. They're really good, I'll tell you.
Diablo, an action role-playing video game developed by Blizzard North and released by Blizzard Entertainment. The player controls a lone hero battling to rid the world of Diablo, the Lord of Terror, beneath the town of Tristan. The player journeys through 6 randomly generated dungeon levels, ultimately entering Hell in order to face Diablo. An expansion pack, Diablo Hellfire, was released in November of the same year by Synergistic Software, and in 1998, Electronic Arts released Diablo for the Sony PlayStation. This version, developed by Climax Studios, features direct control of the main character's directions as opposed to point-and-click movement by using the Sony PlayStation controller. A Sega Saturn version was considered by Electronic Arts but was never actually released. The game's success has led to 2 sequels, Diablo 2 in 2000, Diablo 3 in 2012, and a third sequel, Diablo 4, is in development as we speak. In 2021, a mobile version, Diablo Immortal, entered closed beta.
Hang on, lad. Can we just be reminded about how badly Diablo Immortal was received when it was first announced?
Diablo Immortal. We are so excited about this game.
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
No, it's a.
Is there any plans to make this playable on PC, or is this strictly mobile forever?
Are there any? The current plan is to be on mobile, both Android and iOS. We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC. Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
It certainly does feel good to be back in the studio after all this time, and I hope that you out there are enjoying this video. If you are, be sure to let me know by leaving a comment down below. Maybe there's a video game anniversary you'd like to see me cover, or another similar video game landmark event. Please consider subscribing if you're not already, and without further ado, let's continue by having a look at some of the video games that are marking their 20th anniversary this month.
Salt Lake City 2002, the official video game of the 2002 Olympic Winter Games, hosted by Salt Lake City, Utah in the United States. It was a multi-platform release for PC, PlayStation 2 and the Game Boy Advance. An Xbox version was planned but was ultimately cancelled. There are 4 game modes: Olympic, Tournament, Classic and Time Trial. The Olympic mode returns to the simplistic direct-to-competition mode, unlike Sydney 2000 that forced players to qualify for the Olympics. Grandia II, a role-playing video game developed by Game Arts originally for the Dreamcast console as part of their Grandia series. The game was developed by many of the same staff members who had worked on the original Grandia, including music composer Noriyuki Awada, but the game was designed around the idea of creating a more mature product than the previous title, as well as being the first in the series to feature full 3-dimensional graphics.
This is my way of thanking you.
Finally, whilst you might not necessarily class these as retro titles, it might shock you to know that the following games are turning 10 years old this month.
Soul Calibur 5.
A fighting video game developed and released by Namco Bandai Games for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It is the 6th main installment in Namco's Soul Calibur series of fighting games. Soul Calibur 5 is the follow-up to Soul Calibur 4, unsurprisingly. and retains the weapon-based combat that characterises the series. It is the last original Souls entry timeline game. The game received positive reviews, in which it was praised for its gameplay, atmosphere and character creation, but it was criticised for the removal of fan favourite characters and for its story mode.
KO. Only one fate awaits the
Why fight me, if losing's all that you can do?
Katawa Shoujo, translated into English as Disability Girls, although strictly speaking the direct translation would be Cripple Girls. It is a visual novel game by 4 Leaf Studios that tells the story of a young man and 5 young women living with various disabilities. The game uses traditional text and sprite-based visuals. The majority of the story takes place at a boarding school, Yamaku High School for disabled students, located in an unnamed city somewhere in modern northern Japan. The player takes the role of an ordinary boy whose life is changed dramatically after a heart attack caused by his long dormant cardiac arrhythmia.
So Pat, do you have any New Year's resolutions? Well, there is something I've been meaning to do for a while. Register myself and my domain as an autonomous kingdom inside Great Britain. I beg your pardon? Oh yes, and when it's done you will have to refer to me as Your Majesty, for I will be King Pat White Muffin, the 4th of White Muffinshire. The 4th? Aye, 4th, also the 1st, 2nd and 3rd. It's just my whim. I have a tendency to have them. Okay, where exactly is White Muffinshire? The railway sidings in Oxfordshire, Upstable Close and as far as the Sainsbury's local. Okay, what makes you think that you're king of this area? It came to me in a vision. I get these mainly of a Friday, you know, when pubs have closed, and they usually have like giant snakes, alligators, that type of thing. But this time, it was an ethereal figure. It came to me and it said, "Go forth, White Muffin, my child. Claim the throne of White Muffinshire." So I really should get around to that, I should think. Well, good luck with that, Pat, but I do think that your revelation probably indicates that it's time to bring this episode to a close. Thank you so much if you've made it to the end of the video. And if you enjoyed this little look back at video games from days gone by, then be sure to show your appreciation by clicking the like button and leaving me a comment down below. Maybe there was a video game that you were thinking of that I didn't cover. If you're not already, then be sure to subscribe. It is, after all, free. And that's all from us. We'll see you Friday.